What's good everyone, welcome back to the channel, and today we're going to be going through my round 3 AFL tips and predictions. We jump onto the ESPN tipping app to see how I went for round 2, and it was a pretty average week for my liking. The 4-9, bottom 57%, and it just, wasn't a great week. Another instance this time around where I just didn't tip. Luckily I was going the cat, so if anything it actually helped my favour out more because I got less of a margin. The next on the lines of the Ds, I just thought I had more trust in the Ds, leading into this game, but no, I had a feeling that, to be fair, in a way the lines would come back, and they did bounce back with a good win. And then the tips actually started to go my way a little bit here. Collingwood to be put Adelaide. I just had more trust in Collingwood, especially at the MCG, and that was a really good win from them. Richmond at the Adelaide Oval against the Crows. It was not the easiest win for them, but I did predict like a 32-point win, and I'm pretty sure that happened exactly. And then this was probably one of the great wins of the round, not just as a Saints fan, but just in general. The Saints dominating the Dogs from the word go. I will be very, very surprised if anyone correctly tipped this one. Freo v North Melbourne to get that upset correct. Freo are completely screwed now. How the fuck did they lose to North? And then the Sunday games, I got actually another one correct to start things off. Not the hardest tip to get wrong. Sydney obviously smashing the Hawks. I went the Suns, and that was mainly from my heart, to be honest with you. I was supporting the Suns. If you saw my vlog, go check it out. They obviously couldn't quite do it, and the Bombers got the win instead, starting 2-0. And then this one, I expected a little bit more from the Giants. They were pretty disappointing. The Eagles, they were obviously too strong, recording a 19-point win. So 4-9, not very good. Alrighty, now it's time to go through my big calls and review them. For Thursday night, Carlton v Geelong, I said that the Cats will be in front for the entire game, and that was already over in the first couple minutes, to be honest with you. The Blues were in control of that match and were pretty much in the lead for pretty much all of it, so that was incorrect. To be honest with you, they don't get much better from now. I went in Brisbane v Melbourne for there to be 8 or more lead changes in the game. There wasn't a single lead change. The Lions were in front for the entirety of the match. Now this one, I'm really annoyed about it. If you were on my live stream, you would know exactly why. For Collingwood v Port, I said that both sides would combine for 205 or more points, and they combined for 199. I just needed one more goal and it would have got me over the line. I was not happy if you saw my reaction on the live stream. Now, Adelaide v Richmond, I said that Darcy Fogarty would combine for a third of Adelaide's goals, and I was really close to this one. He kicked 3, the Crows kicked 10. I said that the Saints would only win one quarter but win the game. And to be honest with you, we were dominant pretty much from the word go. We won 3 quarters and comprehensively won those 3 quarters as well. So got that one incorrect as well. Finally got a big call correct in the Freo v North game. I said that no side would score over 100. And to be fair, it probably wasn't as big of a big call as the others. But hey, still got it right. And we're still alive, technically. For Sydney v Hawthorn, I said that Sydney would score 7 or more goals in any quarter. And whilst they comprehensively beat the Hawks, they were sort of quite consistent in the way they got their goals. 4 in the first, 4 in the second, 5 in the third, and 4 in the last. Now, this one pissed me off, to be honest. SMB Gold Coast. I said Wiedemann and Shaun would combine for 7 or more goals, and I got that one wrong before the game even started. They were both ruled out. They didn't even bloody play. And for Giants v West Coast, I said that the 2 Greens would combine for 55 or more touches and 5 or more goals. I was sort of close. They combined for 45 or more touches and 4 or more goals. But again, only the one call right, and it was in another Freo game as well. I've got to go and look to see which comment got the most likes to see which punishment I have to do. And the one with the most likes by quite a bit was from AFL fan. Punishments to write a 3-page letter to Gillon McLaughlin on why there should be a team in the USA before Tassie. Maybe that's a more Cardman video. I'll try and, I think I can get that one out next week, to be honest with you, because it doesn't really involve me going out and about. I just got to find the time for it. And I'm not writing a letter, I'm going to type a letter, because I haven't used pen and paper probably since I was in school, and that was a few years ago. So anyways, those are my tips for round 2. Pretty disappointing, to be honest with you, but hopefully I can come back in round 3 and we start things off on a Thursday night again. Thursday night footy's back between the Dogs and the Lions at Marvel Stadium. It's a game where I really do expect the Dogs to bounce back. They sort of just have to, because in the first 2 games, they've arguably been the worst side in the comp behind Hawthorn, getting done by 50 obviously against Melbourne. But that game against the Saints, I can talk a lot about that game and how poorly the Dogs were. They just would not defend transitions whenever they had the chance to. They were slow, wouldn't go down the corridor, wouldn't try and attack. The Saints' pressure and all that and intensity was just electric, and it probably startled the Dogs. But even then, it was just a pretty disappointing performance. I expected a lot more from the Dogs. They still honestly could have lost this game by more. They only played one good patch of the game, which was 10 minutes. The rest was shocking. So it doesn't seem like they're playing for the coach at the moment, which could see possibly a Bevo sacking in the next coming weeks over the time. And then for the Lions, well, they needed a response, didn't they, against the Power. Obviously, they were shocking. They got that response against the Ds. They I didn't watch all of this game, but from what I've been told, they probably should have been up by more at certain stages. Just completely obliterated the D, especially through the midfield. I think we're up by as much as 50 points at one stage, but then after that blackout, which we all know about in that last quarter, the last 12 minutes, the Lions just weren't able to find the ball at all. They completely lost the play, and the D's just ran over the top of them. It was probably because they were on the field for a little bit longer. They got more of a warm-up. The Lions weren't as prepared. And to be honest with you, if that game went for an extra 5 minutes, we could be talking about a completely different result. And imagine if that was the case. Luckily for the Lions' sake, they certainly deserved the win. And they deserved to win that game by at least 30 points, to be honest. They were the much better side. They got a little bit unlucky there in the end. Obviously, if you look at these two sides leading into this game, you'd think that the Lions get a fairly comfortable win. But look, the Dogs' season right now is on the line. They start 0-3, and then they've got 2 more difficult games. They're not making the finals. They've got to win this game to have a chance this season at possibly making the finals. And to be honest with you, I see a fight back. I actually think the Dogs will actually have a good game. I'm tempted to tip them for an upset. But in all honesty, I think the Lions would just be too strong. So I think I'll tip them instead and win it by 4 goals. But I'm expecting the Dogs to be pretty decent in this game. And my big call will be that they'll lead at halftime. Now, the Friday night game, Collingwood v Richmond. This is going to be an absolute cracker. 2 sides that are going to be up and amongst it this season with massive fan bases. Honestly, expecting 90+ K. I really, really want to go to this game and vlog it, possibly with another person. But I think tickets are sold out. So I don't know, anyone watching this aren't able to go to the game anymore, or they have a chance at giving me a couple tickets. I pay for it. Just hit me up on Instagram right up there, because it would be an awesome vlog to attend. These are the sort of games I want to be attending as neutral fans this season. But anyways, Collingwood v Richmond, this is going to be a crack, obviously, on the Friday night. The Pies, they're now the premiership favourites. They've solidified their place as the premiership favourites, and that was because of the way they played against the Power. They absolutely just obliterated them. Like, they're the most fun team to watch. I think you can't deny that. They just look to score and score heavily. Nick Dacos and Josh Day, how good were they? Like, how good was pretty much every player for the Pies? Darcy Cameron, Tom Mitchell, to name a few more. They're looking really, really sharp, the Pies. Not a lot to really worry about at the moment, and they're going to be difficult to beat in this one. Obviously, the Tigers as well. They were alright. I don't think they were amazing, but they still got a good 5-goal win. Didn't really watch a lot of this game, but from what I've been told, they were unlucky, or the Crows were unlucky, honestly, to be in the lead at stages, especially in that third. They were shocking, but I think the Tigers, they got a run on of 9 goals in a row in the first half, and then in that second, that last quarter, they kicked the last 5 goals of the game to run over the top of the Crows. But the thing about Richmond, though, they haven't lost a game by more than a goal in almost a complete year of footy. So that pretty much tells me that the Tigers, they'll be up for the challenge, I reckon. 2 big sides. I don't think any side will blow either side out of the water. In fact, in this game, I think an upset happens. I think the Tigers are capable of knocking up the Pies. Everyone's going to the Pies for right reasons. I think the Pies probably should win this based on their first 2 games. They deserve my tip as a lot more than Richmond do, but I don't know, I sense a bit of an upset here. We're going the Tigers to win this game by 5 points. A big call. Either side gets a run on and kicks 5 or more consecutive goals. Alright, we head to the Saturday games now, and Hawthorn take on North Melbourne at UTAS, and Hawthorn must be a pretty bad side if they're going into this game as a home team. $2.50 odds, not even the favourites, and I don't think many people are going to go for the Hawks. And then against the Swans, didn't watch a lot of this game, but yeah, I had a look at the comments on Hawthorn's Instagram, and whilst they obviously weren't expecting a win, they were expecting more of an effort, and it seemed to me that there was really no effort shown apart from a couple of players such as Will Day. To only score 37, I know they did have a few more scoring shots than probably what it would have looked like on the scoreboard, but 4 goals 13 is really disappointing outing, even if it is against one of the premiership favourites in the Swans. Whereas North Melbourne, you cannot question their commitment and dedication in games now under Alex de Klerk, and they wanted that win more than Freo. They played better than Freo. They probably should have won that game by more, some could say, but Freo obviously had that fight back at the end, and obviously that controversy was that deliberate, was that not? I don't really care. North deserved the win. They got the win, and they could certainly go 3-0. Imagine North Melbourne, after finishing bottom and only winning 2 games, outperform their amount of wins in the 3rd game of the season. North Melbourne, you got to give them the tip, to be honest with you. I could see a Hawthorn upset. Hawthorn need to fight back, need to respond, but North are looking good here, and I think, they're going to have another good game, and I'm going to go North Melbourne to win this one in somewhat of a close one by 11 points. I think this could be a decent game, the 2 Tassie sides. Luke Davis-Uniacke already starting the season off in Brownlow Nick. And for my big call, I'm having him to have 30 more touches and kick 2 or more goals. The next game, 4:35 PM at Giants Stadium. We've got GWS taking on Carlton. Now, the Giants were fairly disappointing against West Coast on the weekend. I really did think they were going to get the win. Not necessarily convincingly, but I just didn't think they would be as disappointing as they were in a lot of stages of that game. Of course, they did peg the margin back late, but I mean, the margin was blown out to 45 points at one stage of the game, and to do that against the Eagles, I don't care for time, I don't care what situation we're in, that's pretty putrid to be doing that against the Eagles. I just can't see them winning against the Blues. I know if you look at the form before the last 2 games, it's been all GWS. You know, the Blues have now had the wood over the Giants lately, and they're the much better side. I actually really expect them to win this one comfortably. Don't know why the odds are so even. I thought the Giants would be at least $3 in this game. The Blues are winning it. They're looking good. We'll talk about them against the Cats, how awesome they were. They were just first to the ball. They looked more convincing for a majority of the game, and they should have won that game by more. They got the win, and again, if it wasn't for Jeremy Cameron, it should have been probably a 30-plus point win for the Blues. This, I think, will be another 30-plus point win for the Blues. They're going to take control of this game from the word go, and I have Carlton winning this game by 36 points. With my big call, the Blues get to 100 before 3/4 time. Alrighty, this game is going to be huge. The two sides that are 2-0, and who would have predicted that leading into this season? Especially the Saints, given their first 2 matchups this fixture with all their injuries. We've got St Kilda taking on Essendon ahead of their 150th anniversary game at the MCG. I can't remember the last time the Saints played the Bombers at the MCG, or at least let alone hosted a home game at the MCG. So it's going to be exciting for a lot of reasons. It's a big anniversary game, and it's a game where we really should be winning. I know the Bombers, 2 in a row, they've been good. We'll talk about them. You know, obviously against the Suns, they were challenged. It was a close game for 3 quarters, a bit of an arm wrestle, but they managed to break through in the last quarter and prove why they're the better side, and prove why I should have tipped them, to be honest, but I just had a little bit of faith in the Suns, and the Bombers will be going to this game with a lot of belief they can go 3-0. However, they're coming up against the Saints outfit, who have been more impressive, I feel, with their wins, particularly given their outs and given who they've faced. The Dockers, I know, and Dogs have been pretty crap to start the season, but they were both finalists from last year, and I expect them to bounce back. But yeah, we're structured so well. We're actually playing for the coach. We have a game plan. We have a sense of direction. Our defense, we're going to make it really difficult to score against. There was one stage where I think we didn't concede a goal, if you counted for the Freo game and the Dogs game, for 96 minutes of play, which just goes to show how our defense is going to be this year under Ross Lyon, how solidified it is. And the only thing that sort of fears me is that we're not the greatest when it comes to these big anniversary events, big major games. For example, you know, Spud's game last year against the Bombers. The last 2 games against the Bombers, we were expected to win both of them and got done massively. I don't think it'll happen again. I think we're under Ross Lyon. It'll be a different story. I think the Saints will win the game. I'm expecting us to get off to a fast start like we have the last 2 weeks, and we win the game by 19 points. A big call, the Saints lead for 70% or more of the entire game. Now we head down to the Adelaide Oval for the last of the Saturday games, and we've got the showdown between Port Adelaide and Adelaide. This is going to be a very interesting contest for really both sides, because both sides are now under the pump, particularly after their performances on the weekend. Port Adelaide, do we let them off the hook? You know, was it one bad day at the office? Was it just the fact that Collingwood were just simply on and probably had their best game they've ever had in quite a while? Or was that performance really a concern? And do we need to start questioning whether or not Port Adelaide are really going to be the real deal this season? I don't know. We need a response from the Power. I think we're going to get a response from the Power. Whereas the Crows, they're also sitting in a pretty poor position at 0-2. And I expected a lot more from the Crows this season. I've been bullish on them. I thought they were going to start the season off fairly well and get possibly a finals chance. Their kicking has let them down in the 2 games they played. If they were more accurate, they would have probably been 2-0. And obviously against the Tigers, especially that 3rd quarter, I'm not sure how many scoring shots they had, but they completely dominated. They had 13 scoring shots to bloody 2, and they ended up kicking 10 goals 16 at the end of the game to Richmond's 17 goals 6. Look, it's the showdown. It's always fairly even between these 2 sides. The Crows got it done last year. I think they can get it done again this year, but I'm not backing in an upset. I'm backing in what team I think will be the better side in this contest, and that's got to be the Power. I think the Power win this game in a good one. I think it'll be a good showdown, unlike the last one. I think the Power win it by 14 points. With my big call, there'll be 5 more lead changes before half-time. The Sunday games kickstart the proceedings for round 2, and we've got Gold Coast and Geelong at Heritage Bank Stadium. I need to learn to adjust to this new name, I tell you what. Both sides are heading into this one 0-2 and will be really wanting to get a win to kickstart their season. The Suns were pretty disappointing, to be honest, especially after 3/4 time. I won't lie, they were alright, like they were certainly in the game. I just felt like for the majority of the game that the Suns were on that back burner, and I just felt like they were eventually going to run out of legs and fatigue, and they did in that last day. I think kick 5 goals, or they kick 1 goal to Essendon's 5. Yeah, disappointing way to finish the game for the Suns, where they were certainly in the game for longer. And you could have arguably say that the Suns probably should have lost the game by less, but they're now sitting at 0-2 and could be sitting at 0-3 possibly. And I had them winning the first 2 games of the season before the season started, whereas the Cats, they're also starting 0-2. A little bit surprising, but to be fair, they've been up against pretty decent competition in the Pies and the Blues, and I think this time round against the Suns, who have not been great, they've arguably they've probably been a bottom 4 side to start the season off. I can't see them losing this, to be honest. I really can't. If they lose this, there'd be major concerns, because yeah, the Cats don't necessarily start off well, but these are the sort of games where they do win, because they do need to get their win somehow. If they start 0-3, they might not even make finals, genuinely. And I think they will win this game. A response is expected, and I think Geelong will control the game for the most part and win this one fairly comfortably by 41 points. My big call involves 2 Geelong forwards. I'm not involving Cameron or Hawkins, though. It's going to be the lesser-known players, Brad Close and Graham Myers, to combine for 5 or more. I think Myers is leading the comp in goal assists. He's going to have a few goals to himself in this one. Now, this game, I think I'm going to stream, to be honest. It's going to be a cracker. The D's play the Swans at 3:20 p.m. at the MCG. The D's were pretty disappointing last week against the Lions. Even though if you look at the scores, you go, oh, they only lost by 11, but let's be real, the scoreboard certainly flattered them. They should have lost that game by more than 5 goals. Something must have sparked within the D's after that massive delay through the power outage, and they went on to dominate that last 12 minutes of footy and almost won the game. I tell you what, if they were playing the game for longer 5 minutes, I reckon they could have won that. But all in all, it was a disappointing performance from the D's, because for 3.5 quarters of the game, they were the secondary side. And obviously losing Max Gordon in that first quarter, luckily not that serious. It was only an MCL, so he'll be back out there in 4 to 5 weeks. But still, it's going to be difficult. They're going to rely now on Brodie Grundy to do most of the work. And I think the Swans, they do match up pretty well against the D's, especially at the MCG. They got the job done in the last 2 outings at the MCG, and they've started the season red hot. They're proving the doubters wrong, whilst they have been against pretty poor opposition. They've been able to obliterate the 2 sides pretty comfortably with no real worries. And against the D's, I think they'll be going into this game with a bit of confidence. The D's' confidence will be sucked out of them a little bit. And I think a bit of an upset's happening in this one. I sense an upset brewing. A similar game to the last 2 games. I reckon the D's will be up early, and eventually the Swans run over the top of them. So the Swans, in this one, I'm going to go for the win by 12 points. My big call. The Swans win the game after trailing by as much as 18 points at any stage. And the last game of the round, I could also be streaming this one as well, is the Derby. And the odds, who would have imagined that the Eagles would only be $2.65 ahead of the Derby after round 3. This game's at Optus Stadium and it's a Derby, which makes me almost want to tip the Eagles. A lot of Dockers fans I know are also tipping the Eagles here, but as bad as the Dockers have been in the first 2 games, like just with everything, their ball use, I guess their game plan is just completely outdated. The Eagles are going to have a lot more confidence leading to this game than the Dockers, but I think the Dockers are a much better side than what they have been showing in the first 2 rounds, and I just don't think they're going to cough up another one, especially against a side like West Coast. If they lose to the bottom 2 sides last year that only won 2 games in consecutive weeks at home, my God, I don't know. Maybe the Saints aren't that great then when we beat the Dockers, but no. In all seriousness, I think this will be a fairly interesting Derby. It won't be a smashing. The Dockers right now aren't capable of that, and I don't think they're going to respond as well as they should, but I think they should still find a way to win this. It'll be one of those games where they're almost lucky to say that they got the win. Free to win it by 15 points. My big call, the Eagles are actually in front at 3/4 time. So those are my tips for round 3. I went a couple of upsets, to be fair. I don't want to go for the outlandish upsets, but you got to go for a couple here and there. We went the Lions over the Dogs. We went the Tigers in the upset. North Melbourne, Carlton, St Kilda, Port Adelaide, Geelong, Sydney in the upset, and then Fremantle. I was tempted to go West Coast, but I thought I'll play it safe and go the home side and the favourite team. Now, as usual, before wrapping up, we'll go through my tipping comp and we'll see how people went. It's good that the members are going up now. I think we've got around 800 members in the comp. Yeah, 787. So I reckon 1,000 by the end of the week. The new link will be put in the description. So if you're not in it yet, there is a new comp. This is the old ones that you've been in are out. I deleted the old ones. So for round 2, let's shout out the winner of round 2. And we had one person tip a perfect score of 9, which is unbelievable given the amount of upsets this round that occurred. It was Dano for the win, and he was a North fan, so that makes sense why he tipped North Melbourne. Dano for the win, also placing on top 15 and a margin of 7. So he's doing really well to start off the season. A Toasty and Jay the God also in the top 3, but in the top 10 you also see P, Cripps, Flexi Logic, Arch takes dubs, Mighty Hawks, Joel is fine, Gabe AFL, and Meatball. So if you want to join the competition for shout outs and prizes possibly, then go and join it in the description. Subscribe. We're on the road to 25,000 subs. But yeah, thanks everyone for watching. We'll see you soon.